Star Wars Resistance Season 1, Episode 4, Fuel for the Fire. You might be wondering, Episode 4, what? Episode 4, wasn't your last video Episode 2? Yeah, I technically was, but I didn't realize that they made things stupidly and pointlessly confusing. The first episode is called The Recruit, and it's technically Episodes 1 and 2. The Triple Dark is Episode 3, and this episode, which this video is based on, Fuel for the Fire, is Episode 4. Cool? Cool. This episode was a simple one, a bad crowd with selfish intentions pretending to be Kaz's friend to access what he has access to. Kaz slacking off, running around with a bad crowd, understanding where he went wrong, and maturing a little bit more because of it. Kaz once again has his mission on his mind, and has zero desire to play the part of a mechanic. The idea that he's helping the Resistance and being like a do-gooder for the galaxy is getting to his head. He kind of reminds me of those dudes who get out of boot camp and think they're Captain America or something like that. Kaz seems to want credit for being a hero without doing anything, while at the same time not really understanding his mission or what being a spy actually means. Kaz will be a fun character to watch evolve and mature. In the 3 episodes so far, he's already subtly starting that arc, that maturity arc. And more so than the other 2 episodes, this one puts that majorly on display. So Kaz kind of tells Yeager off and immediately regrets it. Kaz meets a racing crew at the bar. They put some doubt in Kaz's head about Yeager. They tell Kaz that he could be a great racer. They want Kaz to come with them, blow off his work. The ringleader of this group is named Ruckland, and him and Kaz have a little speeder bike race on the water. Kaz's bike malfunctions, Ruckland saves Kaz. At this point, I kind of started to feel like this was a big ploy, big game, little strategy that these guys were putting on. Before this, I thought maybe they were just being friendly. Maybe they wouldn't necessarily be a bad influence on Kaz, but more of a distraction for his tasks at hand. But when Kaz's speeder explodes, it kind of felt like a scheme. Kind of felt like they planned this. Yeager scolds Kaz for taking a longer break than allowed. He's trying to get into Kaz's head what he needs to do to make the mission that Kaz is so enthusiastic about work. It's not just about him, it's also about Yeager, Niku, Tam, the whole crew. If Kaz's cover is blown, they all go down. Ruckland's crew, they're kind of like the bad influences that parents worry about, right? At least that's how they seem at first, planting seeds of doubt in Kaz's head, making him take a longer break than Yeager allowed, racing, all that stuff. But then Kaz walks away. One of the guys says, "Now we have the kid right where we want him." So they're up to something intentionally nefarious. They're not just carefree and rule-breaking teenagers, they're up to something bigger, they're plotting something. Consistently in the show so far, Niku is perfectly used. His appearances in the show are subtle and his humor is dry and well-placed. Once again, he reminds me of Data from Star Trek The Next Generation, especially at the beginning of this episode when Kaz is talking to the engine. He's talking to the engine and Niku says something like, "Kaz, the engine is not sentient, it cannot respond to you." Niku takes everything literally. He doesn't understand kind of the layered meanings of speech or jokes or metaphors or anything like that. But yeah, Niku is sparingly used, which is a good thing, but when he's on screen, it's fun. We find out that the entire reason Ruckland and his crew are being buddy-buddy with Kaz is to steal some Corellian hyperfuel that Yeager has. Ruckland wants to use it in order to ensure victory in his upcoming race. So he's able to convince Kaz to sneak into Yeager's private office and private hangar to take a peek at his private racer, which will get Ruckland closer to the hyperfuel that he wants. When Kaz and Ruckland enter Yeager's office, we discover a little bit of his past, of Yeager's past. We see a photo of him in the rebellion as a pilot at the Battle of Jakku. We see a picture of him and his family. We're learning a little bit about Yeager at the same time that Kaz is learning a little bit about Yeager, a little bit of discovery, just enough to make you want to know more. I'm sure Yeager will discuss his past at some point. So Yeager and Tam walk in. Kaz and Ruckland are hiding. Tam is wondering where Kaz is, complaining about him not fixing the engine. Yeager says, "Give the kid a break. I gave you one." And then the camera cuts to Kaz. And that's when he kind of realizes that he's betraying Yeager's trust. Yeager, the tough love mentor, is only looking out for his best interest. Only wants to help Kaz in his mission and try to keep him out of trouble the best he can. This was a pivotal moment for Kaz. I think a switch was flipped in his head. So Ruckland ends up stealing the Corellian hyperfuel from Yeager's office. When Yeager's personal droid Bucket is doing inventory or something like that, he notices the hyperfuel is missing and quickly rolls to tell the others, sound the alarm. Tam calls the hyperfuel hot sauce, which I love. Every piece of technology in a setting like this, often has a slang word associated with it. Hot sauce is a fun one. So hyperfuel is unstable. If the person using it doesn't know how to use it, it's basically a bomb. Kaz gets concerned and sprints to find Ruckland before he races. Kaz is running, trying to get to Ruckland before he launches. Kaz jumps on the cockpit. Ultimately, Kaz saves Ruckland. The ship is launched, but they eject. The scene was fun, a bit silly, but fun. In the end, this episode was really about Yeager and Kaz's relationship. Yeager says Kaz might not be the best mechanic, and he's a questionable spy at best, but he's a good person, and the relationship between the two of them is only strengthened. There's trust between them. Yeager is forgiving, a teacher, not a punisher. He's a father figure, the maintenance chief, the mentor. I like this episode because we got to see Kaz further grow and mature. Out of the 3 episodes so far, this is definitely the one that puts Kaz on the right track. It was a simple story of questionable decisions and motives, about letting someone make their own mistakes and not holding their hand. Failure is a good teacher, and often making a dumb decision and recognizing the dumb decision that you made on your own is way more impressionable than someone, telling you that you messed up. Yeager seems to understand that. He's a guide. He's not an overseer. This relationship will be a lot of fun to watch moving forward. On to the next episode. HelloGreedo, out.